Chapter 46. The Evil Witch. Friday, December 12, 2012. It was the day of final judgment. Before midnight, the heroes of Asgard Ranch had to win the battle. Otherwise, the future of the town of Pizcet would be left in ashes and completely destroyed as we know it. The 18 heroes had been preparing for more than 3 weeks since the ruin and devastation of the witch began. Going down to the center of the town to face the minions and demons to increase their powers and complete the skill list mentioned by the OVLAT boys. There was no one in the streets anymore. Their families, their friends, the teachers, the other students had been killed to take their souls out of them, where the witch consumed all these souls to become stronger. Around 9 in the morning, Gavin met Angie in the common room. "I know that today is your birthday, but I feel sorry for congratulating you on it. Today is not a day to do it, but instead of wishing you a happy birthday, I want to tell you that the best gift is today would be for us to win the battle, and if we achieve victory, we celebrate both that and your birthday. Don't worry, I understand. Thank you for the words," said Angie. Where these two went towards the meeting room where the rest were devising the plan for this day. There was still a nervous atmosphere. The strength and powers that the boys had was not enough. So Alvord suggested that they show the documents that the OVLAT students had stolen, which were updated in real time, where, luckily and for the joy of all of them, were at a maximum level. In addition to having the scales of their qualities at the maximum 10 and their latest weapons forged. Thanks to the fact that they were able to go to Pock and Muster's blacksmith shop before the witch destroyed the town. "Awesome, we are at the maximum level," Angie shouted happily. "How is that possible?" Alessio asked. "Our last duels after meeting them, in addition to having all the qualities at their maximum, our last weapons, if you look at the dodecagons of skills, we already all have plus 10 in each characteristic. To that add that the sages, they gave us their power for having freed them in the chamber," she said, and after the dialogue between Angie and Alessio, Roger spoke up and suggested that before going for the witch, they make quite a few potions and super potions, as well as elixirs, antidotes, and ethers with the plants and components they had on the ranch, to be equipped in the best way. This is how Priscilla, Adrian, Alvord, Jones, Alex, Nana, Kim, Fergie, Alessandro and Alberth would help Roger with the cauldrons for these potions. A wide silence was felt in the room. No one wanted to speak. Angie took the floor to address everyone. And when she broke the silence, the rest followed her, looking into the eyes of the other members of the ranch. "Well, my dear friends, I know that today he is different from those we have lived through, but it's time to face our destiny. Let us defy destiny together," said Angie with teary eyes. "Together we will win," said Gavin bravely. Daniel, Gavin, Roger, Adrian, Priscilla, Louis, Angelica, Alvord, Marycross, Mariah, Emily, Chaka, Alessio, Naomi, Tony, Bastian and Katie. "It's time to go," Angie said. "What about the support group?" Alex asked. "We really appreciate your effort all this time, but we wouldn't want to put them in danger. I think this is a battle where the 18 heroes must face it," said Gavin. "The true friend is the one who stays with you, even when you can't offer anything, except your company," said Liza. "The luck that you can send us will be enough to provide us with support," said Roger. "Take care of the ranch," said Adrian. "From this moment on, you are the guardians of this place in our absence," added Priscilla. "We will return. We will not lose," said Alvord. "Thank you for the support you have given us," said Mariah with gratitude. "When we obtain victory, justice will be done," said Angelica. "Our names will remain in glory and purified of all falsehoods," said Marycross. "Goodbye everyone," said Louis raising his hand. "We will fight for you," said Chaka, for you, for our loved ones, for our families, for nature, for the universe, said Emily, for our legacy. We must win as the prophecy says, said Alessio. We will fight for a future where there is harmony and peace for our descendants, said Angie. Everyone's strength will be united. Their support from here will be our greatest virtue, said Bastian. The knowledge that you have given us will give us power, said Tony. If we return alive, it will be to celebrate, said Naomi. Despite my past, your love and support has made me feel like where I come from. I promise you that I will do my best for a better future for everyone. Katie concluded. Some boys and girls who were around began to cry when they heard everyone's words. Others applauded. Others smiled. A wave of motivation and positivity was beginning to be felt in the room. Joel, Arthur, Sebastian, Katie, Albert, Hector, Nick, Danny, and Aaron got up and offered to take them to the Empire with the Jade Force 1. Okay, but after leaving us there, go back to the ranch and get safe. It's dangerous for you to stay there, Angie told them. Gavin walked down to the center of the room and put his hand in the center, the last war cry. Like when we played Fudblesse, come to me, Gavin said, and all the members of the Jade Shamrocks put their hands on top of Gavin's hand, and shouted, 1, 2, 3 clovers. Minutes before leaving, the Jade Force 1 was waiting for them in Hangar 18. Everyone was in their bedrooms getting things ready to leave. Gavin came out of his bedroom and there was Hector. He extended his hand to him and said, May the luck all accompany you, friend. It was the first time that they didn't argue like two little brothers. Roger walked with Arthur while Yasser and John Paul wished them the best of luck. Adrian left his room and Paula wished him the best of luck. Priscilla spoke with Mayra and Alessandro. Where a crying Mayra hugged her friend. Priscilla he mentioned to her that everything was going to be fine and that she should be calm. Alessandro wished her luck. Albert and Black received support and luck from their friends Leonard, Franklin and Jones, while Lewis received support from his friends Carrie, Gloria and Samantha. For her part, Mariah walked next to Emily and Angelica, where Nana, Kim, Yasser, applauded in a hallway, acting as a guard of honor. While they passed by to wish them the best of luck, Marycross was next to Katie. Where Esther and Teffa they approached to wish them the best of luck. Alessio, Tony, Chaka and Bastian shook hands with Aaron, Nick, Oscar, Mott and Danny as they left. Naomi hugged Fergie, Alexa, Leisha and Liza, while they shed more tears from crying. Angie was near the Zeppelin where other of her colleagues such as Alex, Aura, Mariana, and Gustav wished her good luck. Gabby left her bedroom and when everyone was on the ship, she mentioned that Tamara had some words for them. May the luck be with us, said the girl while everyone applauded and the doors of the ship closed. At 4 in the afternoon the Jade Force 1 left the ranch heading to the Empire Inn. The air that was what still remained of the school. After 10 minutes flying over it they arrived at the place. The Zeppelin took the boys down, in what was originally the field from Fudblaze. All the Zeppelin pilots said over the intercom, May luck be with you, and from there they began to ascend the corridors. Where do you think the witch is? The land is huge, said Adrian. We must divide into teams, let's search different places and as a meeting point we reach the Great Hall, Angie mentioned. How will we divide? Alessio asked. Gavin, I and Black will go the first way, Alvord, Roger, Adrian and Lewis the second way, Alessio, Tony, Bastian and Chaka the third way, Mariah, Emily and Angelica the fourth way and the last road Naomi, Katie, Marycross and Priscilla. May luck be with you all, be careful, said Angie. The apocalyptic empire in the college that Sylvanisha had made was infested with minions. The first group began to climb through the workshop until they reached the west corridor. killing all the enemies they were encountering, and finally they reached the Great Hall. The second group went up the central corridor, passing through what was the cafeteria and the living rooms of the different houses, crossing the infirmary until reaching the doors of what was the Great Hall. The third group would go along the path where the alchemy laboratories, the library and the music room were, until they reached the teacher's room that connected with the Great Hall. The fourth group went up the road where the train station was. The railway track no longer existed, and they reached the gymnasium, which is next to the Great Hall. Finally, the final fifth group passed the Green Forest where what remained was a completely burned forest, with crows and minions. Trees in ashes until they reached the headmaster's room and there entered the Great Hall. Once everyone arrived at the Great Hall and upon opening the doors, the 18 heroes pushed. At the back of it, in the amphitheater was Sylvanetia. She turned around and with her evil expression she saw them again. Ha ha ha. They have come to die. I think you already know what the prophecy consists of. There are just under 6 hours left to completely destroy this place, and I will reign the universe. Said the witch Sylvanetia. Never. Today will be your end, merciless witch. Said Gavin, taking a step forward and showing his boomerang. You will pay for everything you did. Roger shouted, showing his trident. You will feel like karma will win over you. Said Adrian, raising his arm with the ring. You will feel how magic fights against justice. Said Priscilla, opening her book. You will feel how your empire will crumble. Said Alvord, raising his whip and lashing towards the ground. Prepare for the power of unity, the strength of friendship and the brilliance of luck. Said Black with his shotgun in his hand. Your power will weaken. You are weak. You won't be able to beat us. Said Angelica, turning her chopsticks into 2 large katanas. The melody of victory will be played this day. Said Mariah as she transformed her small saxophone into the bow staff. Justice will be done. Said Louis as he pointed his wand at Sylvanetia. Our light will eliminate the darkness. Said Mary Cross with her staff to the sky. There will be no more fire in this world. Said Chaka while adjusting her canteen on her back. Peace will return. Said Emily as she turned her clarinet into the handle of a sword of brilliant light. The prophecy will fail. Said Angie as she took her crossbow from her back. The truth will be known. Said Alessio while with his finger he turned his sphere. The Union. Said Bastian as he took his axe from his back. The weapons of our army will win. Said Naomi, threatening Sylvanetia with her spear. We will clear our names and be heroes. Said Tony, spinning their nunchakus. Let's go. Katie shouted as Coco and Cleo appeared in front of everyone. Sylvanetia, upon hearing those words, laughed and said, I am the evil, inimitable and merciless witch Sylvanetia. And none of the fool's brats will come to challenge my powers. And as she screamed, her white veil fell, her black hair began to rise and become 2. Ponytails that twisted into a braid. Her eyes were blank, after glowing a reddish tone. Her limbs began to change shape. His right leg began to grow and form dry skin with scales. The same with his left leg, his 2 arms, and the 2 rows of his hair. They formed 6 heads with their long sharp beaks in the shape of a crest. Their faces were like the from a river basilisk. Each of these heads launched thunder, fire, ice, petrification, berserk and zombie magic in addition to the central body that was Sylvanetia using Darknaga, Nullaga and Somnuga and the other dark magics such as flare, Ultima, Asterer and Det with a reddish flash, Regen with a white and green flash. Asterer with a shower of black rays and Ultima with a black flash like an explosion. After this transformation, she began to grow and grow until she was enormous in size. Each head of her hanging from some stairs that were in the Great Hall. She began the final duel. Angie ordered the groups to take each of the heads. So the first group went up to the roof to attack the first head, where it was launching Electraga attacks. These were immune to Ganesha, so Angie called Ganesha. The elephant came out and the electric attacks of the basilisk head were useless. It decided to bite Ganesha. The elephant began to throw a Quarga at it 4 consecutive times in its turns. And then Ganesha used sacred water. It was an accurate blow against it. However, Ganesha was defeated by the bite of Sylvanisha's basilisk head. Angie, Gavin and Black began to attack her with her boomerang, her bullets and arrows. Angie used Ultima for the first time with her crossbow. And then the 3 of them used their special attacks simultaneously. Gavin launched an Aquarga tornado, followed by the 4 powerful arrows of ice that Angie sent with her crossbow and culminating with Black's 8 Bernaga shots. There were almost 12 combined hits. A percentage approaching 9,999% of damage. The head was still alive. Then Gavin summoned Nikolash and he used Aurora of Polar Wind and the head turned like an ice cube and broke, destroying the first basilisk head that Sylvanisha had. The second group with Alvord, Roger, Adrian and Louis went up to the stands in the other sector and attacked the second head. It began to attack Bernaga with bites and flames. Alvord used his whip with Darknaga to hurt its eyes, and first destroyed the left eye. The head again sent a bite from Bernaga with his fangs. Likewise Alvord with his whip attacked the other eye, leaving her completely blind. Following this, Roger attacked her on her snout with his Neptune trident with Rokarga where he launched a series of rocks. Adrian launched Asterer and finally, Louis launched Flare against the head. The second head being blind and losing some turns, he launched flames against the 4, but they all avoided the attack. Alvord summoned Borin and he took the opportunity to use Chains of Pain against the head, inflicting a lot of damage. Later, the head took a huge bite and ended the summon. For his part, Roger summoned Selassie, and as a strategy of all the other summon holders, he used his special attack from the Roar of the Jungle and it strongly impacted the head. Despite being very effective, it still did not defeat it. The head again sent a bite against Selassie. He endured it, then launched another bite with Vaboga, causing poisoning to Selassie and he began to lose vitality. And finally the head defeated him with another bite. Adrian summoned Raziel. The Seraph launched Windaga, but it was not very effective. The head continued to bite. Raziel used his special attack and with his sword, he launched 2 sharp wind cuts from Windaga, where it caused cuts in the skin of head, began to lose energy due to bleeding. The head, even with its low energy, began to launch more bites against Raziel, defeating him completely. Louis entered the fight and had the last resort, and summoned Katina, who immediately used her razor blade of euthanasia and cut it in half. The end of the witch's head, thus leaving her with only 3 heads. The group of Alessio, Tony, Bastian and Chaka went up the other sector of the Great Hall, and faced the next head. It fired ice attacks from its fangs and mouth. Alessio threw his sphere in the shape of a fireball against the head. A strong blow. The head counterattacked with a blizzard against the boys. Tony attacked with his Goldchakis towards her eyes. Bastian attacked the next eye with his axe and finally, Chaka sent a flame with the power of his Jikara. Followed from this, the head attacked with 4 turns, launched a strong bite of ice with its fangs, then created a drizzle of sharp hailstones, and finally, launched a strong ice beam against them. Alessio took advantage of his turn to use his attack special and launched 8 spheres of fire at the head. Each one critically hit the head, inflicting quite a bit of damage. Then the head attacked again. Tony, Bastian, and Chaka used their special attacks as well. The head attacked again with a bite, but the boys managed to dodge it. Tony used Kyokushin and performed several uppercut attacks: karate strike, submission, low kick, high kick, throw, punch, dragon punch, giving 8 very accurate blows. The head lost one of his turns. And Bastian hit the head with 4 attacks from his axe. And finally, Chaka used Mysterious Pumpkin and launched a huge flame that turned into a phoenix, and it hit the head. After receiving all the special attacks of this group, the head again began to launch its ice attacks in 4 consecutive turns against the boys. Now desperate, Tony summoned Thor. And he used his special attack with his hammer. A strong blow from Mitarga crushed the head of this one, finishing it in a jiffy. Mariah's next group, Emily and Angelica, got the head that inflicted petrification. Immediately Mariah used Fastega to give more agility and speed to her team, where she again had another turn and used Reflect to protect herself. The head tried to attack them with a bit and the girls were able to dodge them. Then Mariah used Lentauga to make her head have less speed, so she lost a turn. Emily, with her shiny sword, attacked her eyes so that she would not launch Petrarga's rays, but the other eye that was left cast a black beam on Emily, turning her into stone. So when Mariah used Statuna and cured her condition, Angelica used her kimono chopsticks and managed to attack the second eye with her katanas to leave the head completely blind and unable to could use Petrarga anymore during the duel. Then Mariah used Reflect again, so the bite from the next attack on the head was ineffective. Emily used her special attack and hit the head with 4 strong sword blows. On the other hand, the Angelica's special attack with her kimono, she embedded 2 toothpicks in the nose of the head, but it was still alive, attacking with bites. After a while, the head opened its mouth and began to charge a flash, and from its fangs it launched a black ray from Petrarga, where Mariah was left in the form of a stone due to petrification. Angelica took out of her pocket one of the antidotes created by Roger and cured her friend's condition. This is how Mariah summoned Rajma, and she launched a beige ray of Psykarga, leaving her confused and with a lot of damage to the head. And finally, Angelica summoned the 3 fairy sisters. The 3 insect girls first launched Bernaga, Friezaga and Electraga against the head. The head attacked them again with a bite, and they counterattacked using their Essence of the Forest special attack, where an elemental attack finished off the penultimate head. Finally, the final group of Priscilla, Naomi, Katie and Marycross, very close to the floor of the Great Hall, was the last head that inflicted berserk and zombie status. Quickly Naomi cast Fastega on the girls. Katie used E-scan to analyze the weakness of this head and were the healing attacks, and then she had another turn and used Holy with a white flash on the basilisk head. Lastly, Marycross used Lentauga on the head to slow it down, and Priscilla cast Det and Regen against this head, where it is would begin to decrease its vitality. Then the head launched a bite at Priscilla and turned her into a state of zombie, but thanks to the fact that this group had 3 light magicians, Marycross used Statuna to cure her negative state. Naomi used Reflect to avoid the head's attacks with her zombie and berserk states. Then Priscilla, being recovered, used Osmoses and Drenny to begin to drain more vitality and magical power from this head, which would no longer allow him to use his magic. The head began to attack with physical bites. Naomi used her special attack and hit the head 4 times in a row with her spear. Following that, Marycross healed the vitalities of all her companions and then used Holy with a strong ray of white light. And lastly, Katie summoned Coco and Cleo, began to use Friezaga with her 2 summons. And for the final touch, Marycross, throw a potion at his head. Katie shouted. Since the head had become a zombie state due to the reflect that they had created as a protective barrier and zombie's magic rebounded against herself, Marycross threw a potion at her. And this is the weakness of the enemies that are in that state. The last head was destroyed. All the heads of Sylvanetia had been finished. Then the second phase of the final duel would begin. Sylvanetia again went down to the floor of the Great Hall where she would wait for 4 members for the second phase of the final battle, so Gavin, Angie, Black and Marycross jumped from where they were and began to fight against her. Sylvanetia with her body without the heads could continue using all her magic. So she attacked with 3 consecutive Bernaga attacks, and the boys were noticing that depending on the color of her eyes, the attacks she was going to launch were. Marycross began using Fastega for her companions, since E-scan would not give her accurate information about the witch's weaknesses. Then, Sylvanetia attacked the group with 4 Friezaga blizzards. So Angie attacked her with a Det arrow, so that she began to lose life. Then, she attacked with 3 blasts of thunder from Electraga. The boys continued to withstand the attacks thanks to their resistance. Black launched a Bernaga bullet with his bazooka, and finally Gavin attacked with a Windaga cyclone with his Avitus boomerang. Sylvanetia again attacked with Rokarga, Mitarga and Windaga against the boys. Angie used her special attack and launched 8 elemental arrows at the witch with her crossbow. Black also made use of this ability and launched 6 elemental bullets against her with his bazooka. Gavin likewise. The elemental tornado against the witch was a strong blow. Sylvanetia attacked them with Bersaka, Psykarga, and Nullaga. Upon receiving the impact of Nullaga, everyone was left without turns, but fortunately Marycross did not suffer from that. And she used Healaga to heal the energy of her companions. Then, she used one more turn thanks Fastega and launched Statuna with each one. Angie and Gavin tried to summon Nikolash and Ganesha, but something did not allow the summons to appear, so they continued to attack her with physical blows from their weapons and elemental magic. Sylvanetia continued attacking them, and this he rose again to the sky of the Great Hall and shouted loudly, where a black glow appeared throughout the place. The 4 who were fighting could not move. They were motionless, so the other groups arrived to help them, but quickly the group Alessio, Bastian, Tony and Chaka when they tried to attack were blocked by it. Sylvanetia in her expression. She had black eyes. The next group of Roger, Adrian, Alvord and Lewis tried to attack, but they were also hit by the black lightning. The same thing happened with the last groups of girls. And when all this was happening, Katie, who was not hit by the Super Ultima beam, reached the front of Sylvanetia, where the witch already had a completely black figure with red eyes. So the third phase of the final duel would begin. None of her 17 companions could move, so Katie tried to summon Coco and Cleo, but Sylvanetia's magic wouldn't allow it. So she summoned Belphemet. Sylvanetia with a fearful expression on her face. "This can't be passing me," said the witch. She observed well what was happening, and she could not believe that the girl she possessed was summoning a final celestial deity. A crack of fire appeared from the ground, from which jumped a silhouette of a black goat with a flame in its antlers. Belphemet had reached the battlefield. Katie ordered Belphemet to use Bernaga against the witch. This attack caused a great damage of 9,999%. Sylvanetia continued attacking, but her attacks were no longer strong enough to finish off Belphemet. So this he used his infernal explosion special attack, and Belphemet formed in the gigantic flame on his antlers, a powerful fireball similar to a comet, which contained Rokarga and Bernaga. It became so large that Sylvanetia's expression on her face was one of terror. The goat launched its special attack and critically hit Sylvanetia. After this attack, Belphemet dissipated and Sylvanetia's body began to break down. where only what would remain of her would be a black silhouette in the shape of an apple. Where in its holes that seemed created by a worm, a fire snake was observed that crossed this entire silhouette. Katie began to see this and said, "It's Seitan. I must destroy it as soon as possible." And within that fiery snake spectrum, in that round black figure, a ghost of Sylvanetia began to form that did not give up and again began to attack Katie using Ultima and Flare. Katie withstood the attacks using Reflect and he said, "This is your end. You will return to where you belong. The victory will be ours." Katie bowed to give the offering and invoked Omega, where a glow of white light appeared from the sky and launched a ray of light against the spectral figure of Sylvanetia, and he listened to how his echo of pain filled the entire room of the great hall. The effect of the black lightning that affected the others disappeared and they were able to move again. They observed the glow in the sky of the hall, and everything that was happening. Finally, when the glow was removed, a red heart of fire with an eye in its body and a chain of thorns on the ceiling of the great hall, formed a silhouette of a man, with a white robe, long hair and a brown beard, where with his hands to the sky he said, "You will disappear forever." "Who is that?" Gavin asked. "It's Eshin," said Marycross. "What?" asked the others. "If it is." Katie managed to summon the final deities. "The fight is over." "Thank you, Katie," said Angie. "This is something not even the most devout Eshenites have seen," said Priscilla, and after this, Eshin completely eliminated Sylvanetia's figure. She looked towards the boys again and with her hands created a white glow. Everyone covered their eyes. And within minutes they appeared on the grass of the field. Fudblesse, everyone began to get up, wiping the dirt off their clothes, and observed that the environment was restored. The school had returned to existence. It was a sunny day, the sky was blue and the birds were singing. "What happened?" Gavin asked as he got up from the ground. "We won," Adrian shouted. "The god Eshin appeared and eliminated Sylvanetia's soul forever. She will never be able to reincarnate again. The glow we saw was where the entire planet has regenerated again. He tells the witch he will never return, and that now from now on the spell of the first sin will become justice and every person in the town will know that we are the heroes," said Katie. "But how was everything restored?" Roger asked. "That means, Eshin used Rivaga and revived everyone along with the restoration of the entire world," Priscilla explained. Suddenly in the distance the Zeppelin Jade Force 1 was seen where it was arriving at the school and all the members of the ranch got off. Everyone began to celebrate what was happening. To the sadness of some, even though everyone had been revived by the Eshin's light magic, they noticed that Richie was missing. Everyone was wondering why, so Marycross had the answer. Only the people who were killed by Sylvanetia directly, who consumed their soul, those killed by her vassals or whose body was disintegrated or disappeared have been revived. "Will never return," said Marycross. "I think this is the best birthday gift that I have received. Salvation," said Angie looking at everyone. "Katie, we all owe you thanks," said Black. Sylvanetia made a serious mistake by entering Katie's mind. She gave her some of his powers and knowledge. That's why Katie can speak the Mo language, which caused everything to be used against her. And since she had been on the side of light and darkness, she was able to summon both. "Belphemet and Omega," said Angelica. "We have been fortunate to have Katie on our team. Without her, this would not have been possible. She was the pillar of this victory," said Alvord. "If she had gotten rid of Katie in the Eagle's lair, we would not have been able to defeat Sylvanetia," said Lewis. "Why?" asked Adrian. "With her, we acquired Omega and Belphemet to seal the victory. Only one summoner very powerful. She could take both of them," said Gavin. "Otherwise, it would have been impossible to defeat her without the two of them. In addition, the power of Omega triggered Eshin to wake up, come out of the seal in which he was and completely seal the soul of Sylvanetia. destroying her without the option to reincarnate, said Chaka. Well done, Katie, you are powerful, exclaimed Tony. It was the best thing I could do after the problems I caused. I was indebted to you, said Katie. Look. What is that coming there? Alessio pointed to the sky as something approached. It looks like another Zeppelin, said Bastian. More enemies? Asked Mariah. Then the Zeppelin appears where the new commissioner gets off, along with the new mayor Jeff Roosevelt. Congratulates them and thanks them for having eliminated the witch. Something within us and all the people made us understand about the prophecy. It seems that we were possessed. I imagine that this is thanks to the god Eshin. He has just shown us in our minds and hearts the heroes who have defeated the witch. This day, justice for your names has been cleared. The entire town is indebted to you, mentioned the mayor. The commissioner mentioned to them that they would receive a prize of the keys to the city of the entire town on the day of their graduation from school. Upon returning to the ranch that afternoon on December 12th, Angie thought in her mind the phrase, "What remains to be done?" She immediately mentioned to everyone, "This is still over. We have something left to do." "What thing?" Alessio asked. "Didn't you notice the lights on the clear Death Mountain? I think that after the fight, another prophecy of the OVLAT guys has been fulfilled. They have revived the demon of the Hand of the Workshop in the catacombs and the space menace in the Martian ruins near Tower Plains. We must go destroy them," Angie mentioned. The 5 groups of heroes left towards the different entrances of the Pizcet catacombs through the underground. To finish off the demon of the Hand of the Workshop, it was a very powerful enemy. It took the 5 groups many hours to wander around the labyrinthine alleys of the catacombs, where some minions kept appearing thanks to the evil magic that this demon used. Finally, the groups met on one of the paths and headed to the entrance to the well of the college. Very close to the workshop, there they found the demon of the Hand of the Workshop, a black spectrum, with fur, only its large white eye with crimson pupils could be seen. Its shape was a representation of anxiety, loneliness and depression in your mind. It attacked with his black hand with huge ghostly claws, heavily with physical blows and launched dark magic. But thanks to Katie's invocations such as Omega and Belphemet, in addition to Katina, they completely defeated him despite having his enormous vitality and his maximum level, thus eliminating the legend of the demon from the school workshop in the catacombs. After eliminating it, the boys once again performed a heroic act, recovering the living body of the woman who had been kidnapped by this demon many years ago. After finishing this, the Jade Force 1 arrived at the green area of the school and headed to the Martian ruins on Death Mountain along the Tower Plains path. This enemy of the space threat had reached Pizcet thanks to the union of the worlds that existed due to the ruin and devastation that Sylvanetia caused. Upon reaching the Mountain of Death, they walked along the path until they reached the plain of the desert and cold park of the Martian ruins, a place with some parts of iron and remains of a ship that had many years of being in this place. The space menace came down from the sky, a specter with several arms, legs and a huge head with 2 large black eyes. Its body merged with the ruined ship that was in place. This was another powerful enemy just like the demon of the Hand of the Workshop. Both were more powerful than the witch Sylvanetia, and using the same strategy as Katie along with Omega, Belphemet and Katina, he was also defeated by the boys, since their power levels were in a state of perfection. And after defeating him, complete peace reigned again. After both battles, the days passed and on December 21st, at Rhoda School, the graduation was held for the 11th year students in the Great Hall. In a ceremony in the afternoon, with parents and guests, they paraded in couples, the final year students of the 8 different houses, in the distance, among the crowd. Angie could be seen parading with Alessio and Black, Gavin was with Katie and Marycross, Emily with Bastian and Mariah, Roger with Angelica and Yasser, Tony with Kim and Natty, Naomi with Alex and Leisha, and so on. The others who among so many graduates were not appreciating each other, after walking along the red carpet until sitting in their places, on the stage. The teachers who had been revived and the new director of the school gave them their graduation certificates. In the different areas in which they had developed as students throughout their 12 years at Rhoda, despite the fact that the 11th year did not end for the war against the witch. The prize for heroism of the boys had validated the grades of the different academic courses. They would be awarded prizes and medals by the Lunesk station and the city council for their heroic act. Followed by this, all they were putting on their gowns with their graduation ribbons, and at the end of the event, they threw their caps through the sky of the Great Hall. A tradition that was done at every Rhoda school graduation. Each of the boys was wearing her best clothes. Angie, for example, that morning she put 2 braids in her curly hair. And everyone was fascinated with her new look. The patriarch said a few words, also the professors dedicated by delegates of the houses. There was music from the choir. After the celebration, the group went out to the gardens on the hill in front of the plaza fountain. They sat there to watch the fireworks. The happiness on their faces was illuminated by the light of the fountain. At the end of the night, they returned to the ranch for the last time. Next year everyone would start new lives. The next day on the terrace they watched the last sunset together. And then everyone went to their homes forever. Peace had reigned in the town. The last ones were Gavin and Katie. She asked her friend, "What do you think? What should we all do from here?" And Gavin replied, "Eshan saved us, we must believe on him."